Sierra Foxtrot channel 10, wind 08 degrees 07 knots, change 1018, clear for takeoff.
Akagera Aviation started its operations in 2004 and started with charter operations, which later extended to aerial work, emergency medical services, aircraft maintenance, and helicopter pilot training. Akagera Aviation vision and mission are to be an aviation center of excellence in East and Central Africa and to spearhead aviation industry development in Rwanda and the region. Before being enrolled in the school, candidate pilots go through medical and ADAPT screening processes. ADAPT is a computerized aptitude test that serves to assess pilot candidates for a multitude of roles in the commercial and military aviation sectors. A pilot's aptitude test is commonly separated into a collection of tests because the assessment of skills such as multitasking, spatial awareness, memory capacity, hand-to-eye coordination, and mental arithmetic cannot necessarily be assessed within one test, but still needs to be completed by the candidate in one sitting. The first pilot training is always a thrill and might depend on how the instructor will calm and soothe the students and help them to get a grip over themselves. Before a student pilot gets to the sky, there are a multitude of ground school subjects to be covered. These are aircraft general knowledge, meteorology, navigation, operational procedures, flight performance and planning, air law and ATC procedures, human performances, principles of flight, that is helicopter, and communications. Practical flight training then follows on, where the student enjoys the experience of lifting off the runway and watches the world go round. It's an exhilarating experience, especially for the first time. For the duration of the flight training, the student is expected to cover the following activities. Pre-flight. Student learns how to do a helicopter walk around while checking its general condition and verifying visible damage, fluid leakage, and abnormal wear. Before flight briefing. Briefing involves identifying all aeronautical information which may affect the flight, forecast and actual weather conditions for the training and exercise briefing. In flight training, this is time to practice what the student and the instructor talked about during the before flight briefing. The instructor will show the student how to do it, then the student will try to replicate it, and so on and so forth. Post-flight briefing, also called debrief. This is where you really get the most out of your flight training. First solo. The first solo flight of a new pilot comprises that pilot completing a takeoff and usually a short flight and safe landing by himself or herself. Flying such a flight is a milestone known as soloing. Being solo pilot of an aircraft is different from most other situations in that the pilot has not only to be able to fly and navigate the helicopter in a competent manner, but he also has to be able to cope with unpredictable developments like mechanical failure and bad weather. Cross-country navigation. Navigation is the art and science of getting from point A to point B in the least time possible without losing your way. In today's world, navigation has evolved into a science, with sophisticated equipment being standard on most aircraft, which a student needs to learn and be very familiar with. Mountain flying. Rwanda is a mountainous country with terrain and weather influencing almost all types of flying operations. So the student gets given a familiarization in mountain flying because traditional flight training does not prepare pilots adequately for operations in more demanding terrain and weather environments. Instrument flying. This is where a student pilot learns how to control the helicopter, relying solely on flight instruments in case of reduced or poor visibility. Then there's night flying. Here, the student pilot learns to fly at night. Then, the final exam. The students are put to test on everything they learned about the time in the Akagera Aviation Flying School in order for them to be licensed pilots.
Sierra Foxtrot channel 10, wind 08 degrees 07 knots, change 1018, clear for takeoff after takeoff right hand. 1018, clear for takeoff, Sierra Foxtrot.